Good evening or good day, depending on where you're at, or early morning. Such people exist as well. How are you guys doing? I know this is unregular time. It's because I wanted to wait till the wife is in the bed, so she can have a nice evening with me instead of me streaming to you guys. And then, yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit later than usual, but shouldn't be a problem, I think. Why is no one asking how this duck can put reading glasses on? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? It's a secret. Cred is in bed? Yes. He has to go to bed at 6 p.m. every day. So he's been sleeping for a while. Does your wife know that someone dumped 30k Bitcoin on Coinbase? Did someone? Because I'm not seeing it. What's up, Duck from Oz as in Australia? If so, welcome, my friend. Early morning for you, right? Anyway, before we start the show, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. Really appreciate their support. Go check them out. Links are in the description. And yeah. First time ever live. Yeah, I mean, that's the good part about doing these at unregular times. It's new people. It's nice. Who is buying Bitcoin if Sailor hasn't issued new debt or equity? Yeah, Sailor is buying. As far as I know, Sailor is buying right now. He's been buying today. I mean, unless I misunderstand something. But as far as I know, he is buying and he still has quite a bit of money left to buy. The new baby going okay? Yeah. All good. All good on that front. Healthy as can be. Don't adopt me, I will sleep in the basement of your castle. Sorry, but I have plenty of children already. I'm expecting a baby too, Duck. Congrats, man. Love it. Would you consider getting short Bitcoin if the stars aligned and you could potentially stick Sailor? Yes, I would. But I think for that to happen, we need to go up a little bit more. You basically need to, I think you need to get Sailor's average above like 80, 90K for him to be attackable. But at that point, I mean, if I see an opportunity like that, of course I would, yeah. So, is it time to quit our jobs yet? I mean, tell me when you do it so I can sell. But yeah, chat looks good. We'll talk about Bitcoin and then we'll chat a little bit. I don't think the loans are callable. I mean, so he's not going to get liquidated. But if Bitcoin goes into a lengthy bear market, longer than we've seen before, as in like the 4-year cycle theory breaks down, then he most definitely can get in trouble. It's more about the length of bearish price action than it is about, like, if this flash crashes down, it would not necessarily mean that he would get liquidated. Like, people are completely hung up on that. That is like, it could flash crash to 10K. If it's back up fast enough, doesn't really matter to him. If it goes down for like 5-6 years in a row, then he very much can get in trouble. From what I understand, but it's not my expertise. And he basically says the same thing. He's just like, hey, no one's ever lost money holding Bitcoin for more than 4 years, using that as an argument that can never happen. But I think that's a foolish argument, but so far he's been right? And he's been crushing it. What's your take on Hyperliquid hype? I mean, I've been only saying good things since it launched. I've tried it out. It's cool. Yeah. don't really have anything negative to say. Are you concerned about MiCA regulation? It's a little bit annoying, but yeah. So many questions. Let's go to the questions after we've done Bitcoin at least. Bitcoin and maybe ETH, okay? So Bitcoin on the monthly, we talked about this last month, closed good. Nothing to say here, it's just bullish. Weekly time frame, let's put this on the daily only. The weekly time frame, we finally have some form of structure, but it's laughably small. You can remove some of the lines down here. Don't need these. It's a little bit cleaner than this green, because why not? So we have a little bit of structure that only becomes relevant, I think, if we move higher. So if you move towards like 110, then support around 100K becomes more important. Right now, it doesn't really matter that there's support right here. Like I don't really, like immediately after I move off of consolidation, I don't consider this like as support. It only becomes support the moment you either move away from it, or it becomes resistance the moment you fall significantly below it, right? Until then, I don't really consider anything besides just, okay, consolidation happened there. So we need to move a little bit for this to confirm as support, or if you need to dump a little bit for it to confirm as resistance, right? But at least we have a little bit of structure here. On the daily time frame, so this is the weekly. Let's remove this real quick. On the daily time frame, we've seen a little bit of chop, right? Like people got liquidated on Bitcoin, like we had the breakout towards like 104, and then immediately in the same day, nuked towards 90. The big Bitcoin leverage wipe, and then we went back up, fell back into the range, and now it looks like we might actually start closing back above it. So there's a little bit of chop there. It was a nice resistance level that worked for one day, and then got disregarded the next. And this is basically, this is what Saylor does, right? Like the moment he starts buying, the resistances start becoming irrelevant. Like the TA becomes irrelevant. And something that I've said a lot, where a lot of people would say, hey, TA is king, whatever. And they want, like, people are like, oh yeah, and you can see everything in the chart. You cannot necessarily, in my opinion. In instances like this, you can draw the prettiest support resistance lines you want. It doesn't make a difference. Like if someone just has a bunch of billions to buy, the resistance doesn't stand a chance. And that's kind of what happened today. So yeah, we'll see how that unfolds, but it's been like the range has been chopped through. Now, I don't really care too much about the Bitcoin chart. And this is very rare for me to say, but I think the altcoins are in a much more interesting spot. The problem is that, and this is something that I tweeted about earlier, that back in 2017, when we had this breakout here, right? And I tweeted about this breakout when we were doing the 100K breakout, right? When we were like in here. I was like, hey, the last time we broke 100K, like a number like 100K, which was 10K, we wicked above, nuked below, and then just chopped around and then started going up. And it's kind of playing out the same way as we did back then, right? If you just compare the two. Like we had the breakout, we were chopping around, and now it's attempting to break out. And I generally see a lot of similarities between what we're doing right now and what we did back in 2017, right? Like the market feels very, very similar. And the problem with saying like, hey, I don't care about Bitcoin too much, I care about altcoins, is that if you look what altcoins did after this 10K breakout to the top, right? So let's look at ETH BTC. It's the best one to look at. You will find that so ETH underperformed for most of the rally. So look, like the top for ETH BTC was in at 3K, and then like Bitcoin went up and ETH BTC went down, right? And this is actually quite severe. Like from the top here, like Bitcoin went up 200%, and ETH BTC actually went down like 85%, like to the top, right? As in to the bottom. And the most like severe instance of like altcoins underperforming was basically the moment we broke 10K. As you can see here, look, 10K, and then we had like kind of like capitulation of sorts. And this doesn't look that impressive, but this was like a 50% move to the downside on ETH. If you go on ETH USD, you will see that it started basically breaking out with Bitcoin and then had this candle here. So ETH USD went down like 40-50%. I don't think this is necessarily going to happen exactly the same way again. I don't think like a 40-50% candle on ETH would happen. But I'm just saying like Bitcoin broke out and ETH like giga struggled, right? And if it plays out the same way again, that might mean that Bitcoin runs solo and altcoins kind of take a back seat. Obviously afterwards, the altcoins came back. ETH didn't really. It didn't ever make a new high and still hasn't on the ratio. But it did come back quite severely, right? So even if you bought ETH, it went up 400%. Didn't make it back to the high, but almost. So you still got that. It's just a question of short term. If we play out the same way and if Bitcoin runs, we might see a little bit of pain on the altcoin front. Not in USD terms, even though in USD terms, like in 2017, it was actually in USD terms, like people lost a shitload of money in USD while Bitcoin was going up. But just generally like more weakness, relative weakness. So like that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. Like hey, even if Bitcoin goes up, are altcoins actually safe short term? If Bitcoin goes up and runs hard, I think longer term altcoins are gonna do fine, because then we're probably gonna get like a proper move on the altcoins at the end of it. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering about, whether that's gonna repeat, because like I said, it feels very, very similar. Like 2017, that cycle, same with the XRP move. All of that is like very, very, like just makes me, like it just feels the exact same way as it did. And then like I said, if you get a crazy Bitcoin run, maybe we would see only Bitcoin run and like maybe like a handful of altcoins, but the majority actually dumps. Doesn't really matter longer term, like I said, just short term thinking. But yeah, maybe we're more mature as a market now and it's not going to happen the same way. Anyway, we are at, it's fucking crazy to say, we're at 101K. And Sailor's still ready and willing to buy, so we're still safe. Good low time frame levels to bid Bitcoin. I mean, we had this one. Like I had this on my chart and we nuked into it. I think that was the low time frame level to bid on Bitcoin. Other than that, it's really hard to say. Really, really hard to say. Probably just have to bet on strength. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to see it pull back too much. If anything, you would want to bet on strength and then get out below this daily open. So 90, what is this, 96 or 98? I don't, it's too far away for me to see. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, looks quite good. It is in parts due to Sailor, in large parts, but we also have a bunch of ETF inflows, and just generally the market's been really strong. The S&P's also gone up. The stock market's been quite all right. So we have a little bit of strength there. So yeah, nothing terrifying on Bitcoin yet. We also haven't gone completely crazy. I mean, it's crazy that we're at 100K, but we haven't gone completely crazy, right? Do you think Trump inauguration could be seldom news as expectations for him are so high? That was kind of my going thesis, but I might change my mind depending on how the next weeks go. But that is kind of what I thought might happen. Right now, I'm not entirely sure. Any guesses as to where Bitcoin tops? No idea. No idea. Real 100k breakout, don't usually double fake. Yeah, I mean, it seems real for now. Do you think a Christmas correction is coming in like 2017? I generally think like if you follow the 17 playbook, you're probably gonna do just like you're gonna do decent, I think, but I could be completely wrong. But I've been trading it like I've been trading it like it is 2017, and I've been making money with it quite a bit, and it's been the easiest way for me to trade. Like just pretend like it's been pretend like I'm back to where I was 2017. So I'm gonna assume this the case until it stops working. Why is Popcat so chilled on CT? CT is an echo chamber, and if someone says something, like someone that people assume is good at what they're doing, people will parrot it. That's just how it is. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. ETH. I mean, ETH looks good as well. Still uptrending. The monthly is a little bit useless on the USD pair. It's going to be an interesting weekly close. Like we technically broke out somewhat. I mean, it like whenever you close at like so ambiguous here at these kind of like at these levels, like I wouldn't call this a breakout necessarily, because you could just be like, hey, maybe this is just a resistance, right? And I think that's actually quite accurate. And then we got rejected by resistance. But it's going to be an interesting weekly close. If the market can turn this green, would like look quite strong. Generally speaking, doesn't really matter because it just generally looks really strong. Like this is a resistance that we've tested for the third time now. I would not want to short that again. Like we've tested this resistance a bunch of times actually. We had a false breakout here, tested obviously here, tested here, here, and here again. So even if we pull back, I think the next one would go. So yeah, still happy with ETH. I'm not even really looking at it, I'm just holding. Are we not a year early for it to be 2017, 4-year cycle? I don't believe in the 4-year cycle thing. I think it was a thing back in the day when halvings were more important. Nowadays, like if you're barely paid anything at all as a miner in terms of percentage of the whole thing, right? Percentage of the pie. The halving becomes like half as important every single halving cycle. So people kind of tend to put a lot of importance on it, and they're like, oh yeah, it makes such a big difference. Don't really think it makes that much of a difference anymore. I think even the last one was just basically lucky timing, and I think people kind of like dependent on the 4-year cycle, they're gonna get completely wrecked at some point, just because it's like the whole reasoning makes no sense anymore. I think that there's much more important factors at play. Sailor is much more important than the forward. Like I would argue that that what Sailor's done is like 10 times as important as the halving cycle, and the same is true for the ETFs. I think people are just basically blinded by, hey, this has worked for X amount of years, and now everyone's kind of following the 4-year cycle theory, whatever. And I think it's not necessarily like something that I would really give too much shits about. But I mean, everyone can do whatever they want. It's just not something for me. I find that very nonsensical. And with every single time that we have I find it even dumber. And I already found it quite dumb the last time around. There's much, much more important things to consider, I think. Does Saylor represent a major vulnerability for the market? Not quite yet, but I think he will, yes. Hi Don, can you check later hype? Not really, sorry. I don't really do new coins, just because, I mean, there's no chart history, and I can tell you that I like hype, but I don't think the TA is necessarily, like, I don't know why people do TA on new coins. You either like the coin or you don't, and then you either buy it or you don't. Even once you have a little bit of history, you can start doing TA. But I think like the new coins where you have like you have to go on the 4-hour chart to even have like a couple of candles. I think that's like TAing those is a little bit useless. So anyway, ETH looks good on the weekly. Daily time frame also decent. This is largely obviously due to Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin, that reclaimed the entire breakdown. ETH didn't quite, would have to trade at 4K, isn't. So that means ETH BTC is underperformed. And when you go to ETH BTC, you can see that. Generally, altcoins have been much weaker on this bounce. And we saw the Bitcoin leverage wipe here. And then on this move down, we got the altcoin leverage wipe. And you can see this on ETH. You can see this on XRP. You can see this on Doge very well. They really didn't give a fuck when Bitcoin went down the first time around. But then, like yesterday, they did. So at least some leverage left the system, but they're still quite like relatively weak. We'll see how that goes. I mean, most of my exposure is altcoins right now at this point. So I mean, it's not like I'm flooding your bags just for fun. I'm flooding my bags too, but I'm seeing a little bit of weakness on the altcoin front. This is why I'm thinking about whether the 10K comparison is applicable here or not, because I don't necessarily want to see Bitcoin go like to 150 and not make any money in my altcoin, right? This is why I'm thinking about it. But yeah, so far the bounce has been not so great on neither on ETH nor on like Doge or any of the other ones. Like whenever Bitcoin starts getting a sailor bid, altcoins have struggled lately. Don, I sense that short term you're bullish Bitcoin and bearish altcoins. Can you confirm? I mean, I own altcoins and I own very little Bitcoin. So technically speaking, I'm differently positioned, but that's kind of my thinking. Yes, I kind of feel like short term you could see more upside on Bitcoin than on altcoins, but I'm completely positioned the other way around, right? So take that as you will. But my brain is saying like Bitcoin is probably the better bet short term, but my positioning very much doesn't confirm it. So we'll see. Is it over for Solana? No, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. If it's over for altcoins, then of course it's over for Solana too. But I mean, Solana has been one of the better performing altcoins today, at least. What are your main coins? XRP and ETH? Yes, mainly those. Would you change positioning or not? I mean, so much work. Like I'm lazy. I'm like, this is why I'm thinking like, hey, if this is just like a temporary weakness that's gonna maintain for a week or something, and then it's gonna turn around, then I'll probably not switch my positioning, right? Because I'm like, okay, whatever. But if I'm like, hey, this is gonna be, it's gonna be a severe, like big Bitcoin move of good percentage, then I might, right? So I'm thinking. Can we get bullish Doge propaganda? Yeah, I'll talk about it. But yeah, ETHUSD looks amazing, right? And I generally think I'm kind of fine with holding stuff unless it actually starts looking bad on the USD chart. That's why I haven't necessarily thought about it too much, like selling ETH, going Bitcoin, and then like rotating a bunch. Like I look at this and I'm like, this just looks so good. I don't really care. And it's still, like I said, it still looks really good. XRP looks insane on the USD pair, like absolutely insane. This is hilarious, right? Like people don't really, and look at that, beautiful. Huh? We talked about this support on this show. Actually, I even exited as a pullback level. And we did pull back to it yesterday and bounced really, really strongly. And I mean, this is a hilarious chart. Like, if this was not XRP, everyone would be bidding it, but it's XRP and everyone hates XRP, right? But like, that's an insane chart. It's basically a move up and a week of consolidation, right? Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, this is such a stupid chart. The only reason why people are afraid to buy this is because XRP tends to kind of do these insane candles that full retrace. And I think that's kind of what's holding people back from it. And I totally get it. And also that they just don't like XRP. And I'm in that camp as well, right? Like, it takes me a little bit of effort to buy this thing because I just don't like it. But this is incredibly bullish of a chart. As long as you're gonna see altcoins move up, I think XRP is gonna be one of the strongest movers, right? So basically, if you're betting on an altcoin bull market, I think XRP is one of the best ones to bet on, as shit as that is. I wish we were living in a different world where ideals paid, but they don't, right? Therefore, I have to say, this is just a stupid chart. Pulled back to support, bounced. Quite nice. Been trading this actively quite nicely. Cannot complain. Daily chart. This is a little bit worse than the weekly chart, but still, technically speaking, there was upwards, sideways, and this is still higher time frame sideways, right? And if you have trouble seeing that, I mean, like I said, just go on the weekly or go on the 3-day, right? Like, that's a stupid bullish chart. I wonder how this is gonna play out. I cannot predict the future. This could be one of those where it just goes up and comes back down. But I generally think if altcoins are gonna do well, XRP is gonna do well as well. And then when you go to XRP BTC, it's the same story. That had one red candle and is now all the way back up. We talked about this when it was at support. The last time, right? When it was basically, it was at XRP BTC support at 0.6 on the USD pair. It's when I started chilling it, and was at that green line, and it bounced, but it's still technically, like, this is the range. We've had a similar range, by the way, on Dogecoin before, right? And I'm not saying it's gonna break out like this. I'm just saying, like, Dogecoin did this a lot, also on the USD pair. If you go far enough into, like, is there a better one? Not a Binance usually tends to. So basically, like, Dogecoin also like to do this, where it just basically did this, and at some point it broke out and then broke out again. But yeah, this was my trading. Like, this is what I was doing, trading this range. Basically, I was like, buy anytime it hits 20 sats or lower. I don't know if anyone of the people that followed me back then are still around, but I was like, buy Dogecoin anytime it's at 20 sats, like around 20, 30 sats or lower, and sell it when it's like around 100-ish. And I mean, that was really nice for a long time, until Elon came in and kind of fucked that strategy. Obviously pushed it higher, so Doge holders are not complaining. Me as a trader, this was the perfect trading pair that I was printing on regularly. I was a little bit sad. But yeah, that was good times. And XRP is kind of doing the same thing on the monthly, right? last time around. It didn't quite manage to go to the top of the range, and I'm not entirely sure if it's going to this time, because that would mean that relative to Bitcoin it would go up like 200-300%, which just kind of seems a little bit insane at current valuations. But yeah, we'll see. Right now, generally, I mean, I talked a lot about the XRP USD chart just being insane. The XRP BTC chart, I would say, is at resistance, right? So I drew these two as kind of like a range. I think there is some sort of resistance right here, and this is kind of what we're struggling with. It's not clean, but it's basically the midpoint of the range. It's what we've been struggling with in the past. We have hit it. I mean, even if you go more recent, we have hit this resistance like 4 times. It's quite ambitious to assume that it's not gonna break eventually, but this could still take some time, right? So, except BTC on the high time frames, not quite as bullish as on like the USD pairs, especially given. Look at this. Especially given that the XRP USD pair is basically right below all-time high, right? So I think that wouldn't be too hard to kind of break out of. I think the harder move is the XRP BTC pair, where it needs to break all of this, and if it does, I think that the sky's the limit. So you need a little bit of altcoin strength. I think this is gonna go and have a second leg, similar to what it had in 2017, where we had one leg here. Then we had a pullback, stronger pullback than we are having right now. And then you had the second leg, which took us basically another 600% higher on versus Bitcoin. But I would argue that if you don't get the pullback, you kind of calculate it from here, and then you have like a 200% move higher. So if 2017 plays out again, that would be another 2 weeks of, not 2 weeks, but another 2-3 weeks. And another like second leg of upside eventually. Not saying that's gonna happen. I'm just saying, like, generally I've been trading like it is 2017, and that is what it did in 2017. This is why I bid it this time around, right? I was like, everything feels like 2017. I think XRP is gonna go up, and I bet on this being the first leg. And I'm now kind of in the camp where I'm like, this could actually have a second one. Doesn't have to have it, but could have it. If, like I said, big if the altcoin market plays ball. Dogecoin, someone asked me yesterday whether I like Dogecoin or not at current prices, and I actually, like, it pulled back into a somewhat nice support level. But there's really nothing on any time frame where you could argue like, hey, okay, we're near support or whatever. It's just low time frame stuff. It's moved too much. Generally, this is a really strong chart as well, right? Like we've been talking about, like how stupidly strong XRP is. This is exactly the same, right? Like you have a big move up, you have a bunch of consolidation sideways. Like this is not a bearish chart. And same thing applies, right? The reason why people are a little bit skittish is because Dogecoin has done this multiple times, where it pumps a bunch and then bleeds out forever, right? And this is what people are afraid of, and rightfully so, right? And that is going to happen at some point. It's just basically, at this point, you kind of have to bet on whether you're gonna get a second leg on these coins or not. And with ETH chilling at 4K-ish, I think there's a good chance that we're gonna get a second leg, but you probably wanna sell into that second leg. But yeah, it's a good chart. There's just no TA that you can really use. Yeah, it's just up. It's just up a lot. And look, this is what I'm saying, why people are like very, very afraid. You have a straight line up, you have down, you have a bounce, down, bounce, down, bounce. And then people are like, oh shit, like if this plays out again, like you had a big, strong weekly candle, and then it just was down only. Like if you compare it basically to 2022, then obviously you're gonna shit yourself. The bulls are kind of betting that this candle is just this, Like this 2021 for Doge, but I mean, we had similar things in 2017. The bulls are betting that this is the first leg of the impulse and we're going to get the second leg still. The bears are basically betting that it's going to play out like it oftentimes has, which is just basically a bounce into bleed out. Good evening. May I ask to have a quick look on hype? No. I mean, sorry, but I explained it earlier. I don't really see the point in charting new coins. If you like it, fundamentally buy it, but TA-wise, there's nothing there. You buy these kind of things. New coins you buy if you like them, if you think they make sense. You don't do TA on those. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting because either we're gonna all get fucked because it's another one of these where it pumps and then just full retraces, or we literally have the second leg to go, which is gonna be really nice. Did you buy rebuy XRP on the drop? Yeah, I've been trading XRP actively. I am actively trading XRP, so I don't necessarily want to say like, hey, I'm holding a bunch of XRP because I think it's gonna go higher, because I'm actively trading it. My ETH's very easy to tell people about because I'm like, okay, I'm holding it. I think it probably goes higher. I have a lot of patience with that one. With XRP, I'm actively trading it, so it's a little bit different. Have you taken capital off the table already? Oh yeah, plenty. I always cash out these days. Doug, thank you for XRP shields. I'm still holding longs from the lows. Chad, love to hear it. What clues do you look out for to determine if you have another leg up or it's over? I mean, you just need to basically see whether the market is showing strength or not. Like if, let's say, like Dogecoin does this and then bounces. Like if I was a holder, which I'm not, right? Like I don't currently own Doge, but if it broke down like that and bounced, I'd probably try, like if I was a holder, try to sell here, and then if it goes back up, I'd probably try to reestablish for, and I mean, I know this is BTC, but it's the same chart basically for USD, right? And then I would try to, like, if it goes higher, I would try to reestablish a little bit higher, but I would generally assume that then it's gonna go down, right? If on the USD pair it's this, like if it goes down here and then starts bouncing, I'd probably try to sell into the bounce because I'd think like, okay, this is actually probably over, but there's still a chance that it recovers and then you can have the second leg. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really, like, if you fuck up and you basically you don't get this part, but you do get this part, you don't really care too much, right? And that's kind of what I'm hinting at here, where it's like, if you, like, I'd rather be more cautious and get out and then reestablish into strength rather than just betting my life savings on we're gonna get a second move and we absolutely have to, and it's always gonna go up, right? Because if it then doesn't go up, you obviously get giga fucked, right? So you have to take signs of weakness serious enough, but also you have to accept that oftentimes those signs of weaknesses can just be false, and then you have to jump back in, and then you did miss out like on 10-15% of the price action, but doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. It's better than holding the top. What does it mean when you actively trade it? I mean, I just bought the lows on XRP. I mean, I tweeted about it too. I bought the lows on XRP, and then I'm still holding, and I'm kind of like, there's a good chance that I'm gonna sell it if I see weakness. There's a good chance that I'm gonna hold it if I don't. As in, like, I'm not with ETH, for example. I look at that, and my time frame is much larger than on XRP, where I'm like, I bought this pullback, and I'm ready to hold this all the way back down again if I have to, just to give it a chance to break out, because this kind of seems like it should break out. Whereas with XRP, like, there's no chance in hell that if this comes anywhere close to this low, I would still be in the trade. So I'm actively trading this. I'm not actively trading trading ETH. If ETH runs, will DeFi coins run harder? Probably, yeah. Show us the low time frame trades you did. I mean, I talked about this. XRP went to support here. The X that I showed you guys earlier on the chart. I don't know why it doesn't show up anymore anyway. Doesn't matter. I probably deleted it. When it went to monthly support, I was like, good enough to trade it. And then I got a little bit lucky, I must say, that the stablecoin, the XRP stablecoin got announced that hour. But it was pretty obvious that was coming, so it was kind of like a matter of timing it. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get bailed out with news anyway. Or like most of the time. But didn't you say you want to sell ETH in December? Yeah. I mean, I still do want to. We'll see how it goes. If the market stalls but still looks strong, I might keep it. I would hate it because I'm just not at the table. Like I'm not at the desk, and I couldn't really do anything about the position over Christmas and probably over New Year either. And then also it's like a little bit more complicated, like holding a position into the new year. But tax-wise, but it is what it is. So I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. Pepe, a lot of people ask me. I mean, it's a good chart. Retested support, ran. It's a good chart. You can box this out as support. This is what you don't want to lose. If that is lost, it starts looking really shitty. As long as that's held, looks quite alright. I'm not hating. There's other coins like WIF looks much worse, right? I still think there's a good chance that WIF goes up against the dollar because the entire crypto market goes up. But I think the days of it wildly outperforming other things is over. You're going to see bigger outperformance elsewhere. I think generally the memes can perform good. I'm not saying the memes have to go down. I'm saying the special status that memes had this entire cycle where they were trading the best, I think that's over. I think there's going to be, obviously there's going to be a few outliers, but most of the memes I think are just going to trade like old coins now. And that means they can go up, yes, but it also means that there's other things that can fly really hard in comparison. And one good example of that would be XRP, right? Where you saw XRP go up 5x, memes didn't do shit. And I think you're going to see a bunch of that, basically, where you see memes maybe do well. Basically, memes have become the ETH of this cycle, where it's like ETH's just like going along very slowly. I think it's pretty much the exact same thing for memes. But yeah, I like Pepe is my second favorite meme, right? I like Dogecoin the best, and I dislike memes. I think they're really stupid. I like Dogecoin the best, and then Pepe the second best. So I'm not gonna see me hate too much. Hype has been Giga outperforming. Any thoughts, Don? I mean, it's just a fundamental play. It's not a TA play. So if you like it, have it. If you don't like it, don't. There's no second best. But yeah, same with Popcat. Look at these. This is Popcat versus Bitcoin. So if you've held Popcat in the last in the last month, you're down 50% versus Bitcoin. I mean, that's fine. It's like not the end of the world, but this is what I mean with relative weakness, right? It's the same with WIF. Like this is the WIF chart versus Bitcoin. WIF's actually been underperforming for a long time now, almost a full year. Like that's just been the direction of WIF. Now, obviously that can like turn really quickly. WIF just needs to like 2x or something, and then it starts looking much better already. But this is kind of what I mean, and this is what I meant with like, and the reason for this is quite simple. It's just meme dispersion, right? You have infinite memes. I can create a meme. I can post it on Twitter a bunch and force it to become relevant. And then there's going to be a few, not many, but a few people that are going to sell their meme coins to buy mine. And then someone else is going to be looking at that and be like, hey, wait, this guy just made a meme coin and he made a little bit of money. Let me do the same thing. And every single person that person gets to buy their meme coin instead of mine, or instead of the person that I copied it from, makes the original coin go up less, or might even go down, right? So you need a lot of people. And then, like I said, the meme coins are spreading like cancer cells, right? And they're kind of like they're multiplying and multiplying. And they're killing the whole organism of memes, in a way. It's too many. They're killing the meme body. That's just how it is. Now, obviously, like if enough new blood comes in, that can maintain it for a while, but you need blood transfusions to make this thing stay alive. But if you get an old season, I mean, they're going to go up as well. It's just a question of how much. And I think the answer to that would be less than a lot of other things. But yeah, that's that. Solana been underperforming. Today's been a really good day for Solana. It's one of the few coins that look... it's funny because this is really... Like Solana BTC is a really bearish chart, right? Just objectively, like short term at least, it's a bearish chart. But so there's a few ways you can be bullish Solana, right? We talked about this on the show like a bunch. I said here, hey, wait until we broke this horizontal. Then we couldn't. We came back down and it was like, hey, wait until we break the diagonal or this horizontal. Couldn't. We broke down. And now I'm saying the same thing. Basically, break this horizontal here and this diagonal, as in get above here, and then Solana starts looking much, much better. But right now, it really doesn't look that good versus Bitcoin. Now, obviously, versus USD still looks good. But versus Bitcoin, this is not the chart that you want. This support's been tested a million times. Doesn't mean it has to fail, but it's not something I would bid. I'd much rather... and if we get it, right, if you get a breakout here, maybe you'll see me buy Solana, like a little bit at least. But until it does, I don't think it's a good bet. I think there's much better bets to be had. This looks awfully like ETH did in here, where like, I made a comparison chart on Twitter, basically like, so BTC on the weekly time frame, and ETH BTC on the 2 week. It's cleaner that way. And you can see that this is very similar. Doesn't have to play out the same way just because it's fractal. But it's awfully similar, right? So you basically, you have a high here. Let me actually grab a Solana chart that's clean. Here. Kraken, yeah, that works. So you have a high here, secondary high, you have a high, secondary high. You dump down, you make, like you have like a little bit of a complacency shoulder. You have this consolidation here, you have it here. You put in a bottoming structure, same here. You move it up with like high lows. So you have this here, you have this here. Start moving up, and then you have this whole range here, which you had here too, and you have a high, a higher high, a high, 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 make another lower high, make a lower high, and then this is how, so like this is how ETH played out, right? Doesn't mean Solana has to play out the same way, but means like I don't see the point in playing so right now. And if my thinking with with the altcoin weakness, if Bitcoin shows strength plays out, this would be perfect, right? Where you would get like a breakdown of Sol BTC because Bitcoin breaks out, and then you get a rally like this, basically. So a nuke, like we had it in 2017, and then a bounce would basically be how I would want to see it play out. I'm not saying this is how it's gonna play out, but as long as this is the case, as long as the only thing that I'm really seeing on this is weakness relative to Bitcoin, I'd rather have Bitcoin than Solana. Look at timing. Eve stopped innovating at that point. Sol is full of builders. Eve's not stopping to innovate. Like, this is just memes that people come up with because they're like just full of hates for a coin that they don't really understand. I mean, I get the whole like being tribalistic or whatever, but I find it like a little bit silly. Like, people shit talking Eve makes no sense to me. They've been doing great things. And Solana has done great things too, right? But like the whole like, oh, Eve's not doing anything is a little bit silly to me. Doesn't Sol remind you of Link last cycle, leading first half, then underperforming second half? Yeah, it does. I think it's pretty much exactly how you should look at it. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at this thing. And I mean, like I said, I will change my tune the moment you get a little bit of strength. And it's really not that much, right? You only would need like a 15-20% pump. That's 15-20% in current market conditions is nothing. But as long as we don't get that, I'm just gonna treat it like it's a piece of shit that I don't want to touch. And I think that is actually, like, it just makes sense. Like, it's been underperforming. It's the same as ETH, right? Like I said, when ETH was trading in the exact same position, I was like, we were trading here. And I was on this show, I was like, ETH's the midwit trap. Don't buy ETH. It's the midwit trap. Everyone has ETH already. Just buy Bitcoin or buy meme coins or some other dog shit, but don't buy ETH. I think we're at this point where Solana's the same thing. It's a midwit trap. And it doesn't mean that it has to go down, especially not on the USD pair, but I think it's basically the midwit trap, the same way ETH was. It's in the same position. And ETH could still be in that position, right? I mean, my XRP trade is 100% gonna be better than my ETH trade was. Like that trade that I took from 0.6 up to like around where it's at right now. Like, I'm not expecting ETH to do anything even close to it, right? So technically speaking, this ETH like my ETH trade right now is also midwit trapping myself, because I don't think it's necessarily gonna outperform XRP. It's just a nice place where I can park money without feeling it fully at risk, right? Because I could also see XRP just do this. And I do not think that is what ETH is gonna do. So I'm much more comfortable having the money in ETH than in XRP, but it is not necessarily, like, I think the chances that ETH outperforms XRP if the entire market goes up is close to zero. It's just, if the market goes down, I'm not gonna lose everything. So, do you think Trump will be medium-term bullish for crypto? Like, we get another bull run starting in the next 12 to 18 months? No. I think Trump is a short-term, maybe short to very short mid-term bullish catalyst. I think for at most a year or two. And then it'd be funny, like, if he's actually giga bullish for crypto for a year, then the 4-year cycle people would be getting lucky again. But I don't think that's necessarily, like, I don't think long term this is the way it's playing out right now, right? And call me cynical all you want, right? But the way it's playing out right now and the way I'm seeing this play out is basically that shit like XRP is taking the spotlight. And I think, I mean, Trump might be like the biggest genius, whatever, businessman ever, or the biggest idiot ever, depending on which side of the political spectrum you are on. But I think what both sides can agree on is that it's like that Trump likes people that make money, right? Like he's like, this person made a bunch of money. He must be good at what he's doing, right? And I mean, there's some truth in it, but basically if you put like an XRP person in front of him that basically milked the entirety of crypto, and that has multi billions of dollars that they've made by selling like XRP or whatever, that's going to impress the shit out of him, right? And I think that's basically how it's going to play out, is that the biggest grifters are going to be able to get a spot in the limelight, and I think that's going to lead to good bullish short-term price action, but these people are not good for anything, right? And I think it's going to lead to bad price action in the future. So basically we're getting a pump now, and this has been like a big part of why I bought XRP at 0.6, right? And you look at the chart, my whole crime cycle thesis, right? Where I think like a lot of the really shady personalities in crypto are gonna start using their money to influence the entire space, and I think they're gonna succeed with it. And I think that's bearish, but it's not bearish short term; it's bearish longer term. So I think just generally, like I'm not kidding, and I wasn't kidding when I said crime cycle, because I think any project that is willing to go so far to do something like borderline criminal is probably gonna outperform. And I think that's bearish. You don't want that. Like, that's bad. Would you be able to do a one-on-one consult for a fee? No, I don't have the time or energy or just general will to do it. Sorry, brother. This is as good as it gets. I think it's pretty good. Like, listening to my thought process should be, I mean, you get it here for free. It's just that I'm not necessarily only answering your questions. I'm doing it to anyone, like to everyone, which can be better even, because it's stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Do you do spot margin trading or just hold spot? I do all of it. Would you be able to do email support? No. It's even worse, dude. There's nothing in the world I hate more than answering emails. Almost every fucking post in chat is, "Hey Don, what do you think about my bags?" Yeah, it's every bull market is like this. I'm used to it. It's sadly not really useful, right? Because if I went over every single bag, even ones that I don't trade, then I can only give you really shitty advice, right? The reason why I'm quite like why I can talk about XRP so in depth is because I've been trading, like I've been all over this shit, right? So I know how this trades, I know how it feels, I know how it does. You give me a coin that I don't really look at like regularly, and I can only give you really shitty advice. Like, every pair trades differently. If you send me a chart that I don't look at, and I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, then I can only really give you like this I could give you. It's like it moved up, and then I'm like, oh, there's a triangle. But you can look at that triangle yourself. There's no real alpha, no real nothing in there. But the fact is that I've traded this a bunch, so I know a little bit more about how it trades and what it does. Then I can give better advice, right? That's why I don't usually, like, when people are asking me, hey, can you chart this? Can you chart that? If I don't look at it regularly, if I don't know the chart, I kind of feel like I'm doing something useless, right? Maybe I'll even talk you out of a position that you have, where you've kind of liked the low time frame market structure and how it's just generally traded, because it's also different. Like, depending on how something trades can be strong or weak as well. It doesn't necessarily only have to be, oh yeah, there's a chart level that you can draw. So for example, if you see Bitcoin take a massive dive, and then your altcoin, you see how it dumps, but then someone steps in bigly to kind of like buy shit up, and it goes up and it actually reclaims where it was before while Bitcoin is still trading in the depths of the shitter, then you know like, hey, this is like, there is some underlying strength there. But on the chart, it's really hard to find this again. You would have to run Bitcoin next to your chart, or like look at the Bitcoin pair or whatever. This is something that you're gonna see if you've been actively trading it, and it's very hard for me to see because I haven't. Is ETH $7,300 unreasonable? Don't think so, no. As long as the bull market continues, that seems like it. Like I'm targeting 6-7K. Yeah. There's a bull flag forming on Bitcoin, on XRP. Yeah, I don't know if I would call this a bull flag. If anything, like on the XRP and the low time frames, this is the chart that I would make. So basically, you had the euphoria, short-term euphoria top here. You broke down, retested it from the underside, broke down, put in a range, and this is something that you can watch for. Something that I haven't talked about much because it's just made me a bunch of money. But now that I'm kind of going towards retirement, doesn't really matter anyway. But whenever you see these wicks, right, and you will see this on a bunch of altcoins regularly, when you get a bigger wipe, right? When you get these wicks, like someone sells a bunch of spot and it goes down like 10-15% in one candle. We had the same thing somewhere in here. When you get those wicks, oftentimes that's around where you're gonna find support, right? So you have this massive nuke, you immediately mean revert, and then you run into the first resistance, and oftentimes you sell off and take out that low. Like you have an illiquid wick candle, it kind of retests that low and then puts in a new low that then goes up. Obviously we got weakness afterwards, but that was just general altcoin weakness. So you had that range basically, and that was defined by that sell-off, like illiquid sell-off candle. It's something I used to look for a lot, still look for, but like I said, I think this probably, like, actively trading is gonna be my last cycle, so it doesn't really matter. It's just something that makes it easier to find, like when you have a low time frame chart in a massive bullish uptrend. This is something that I used to use and still sometimes do for entries, where I'm like, okay, this is the area where underneath it I want to buy, and usually works out quite well. Happened multiple times during this rally. Did you just give away your market edge? I mean, it's some of my market edge, yeah, but like I said, it's my last cycle, it doesn't really matter, and it's getting more widely known. I've been trading this literally since 2017. It's something that I've done very actively. I do it much less now. It's only low time frame anyway. But if you see something like this, have an eye on it. It's something that's very high hit rate for me, at least. And you will see, like, if you mention this to someone that's been trading for a while, they're gonna be pissed off because no one wants to talk about this because it's been so nice. And the more people know it, the less likely it's gonna work. Have your market edges been fading or getting stronger? It's been largely the same, but it always evolves. This is one of the few ones where it's just very easy to spot, and it's one of the easier ones to execute. Anyway, that's the range, right? It was set by that candle. We hit it here. We hit back the high of the range, and now we've reclaimed the range, and that's bullish unless we lose this. Like if you want to make a low time frame analysis of this chart, right? So basically range reclaim, it's good. You want to see the range low be held, and given we faked out to the bottom, now you would think that we're going to break out, even if it's bearish, to then come back in the range, do the same thing that we did down here. What age or dollar amount are you aiming to retire? I mean, the dollar amount that I wanted to retire at, I hit like a long time ago. But I never had high goals, right? So it's not like like I was always like, fuck it, I just want to live. I want to live my life without being stressed, and I hit that quite a while ago. But I'm also like not someone that needs much, right? So, and the age also like doesn't really matter to me. So I've just always wanted to retire whenever I don't feel it anymore. And I can tell like that this is gonna be my last cycle actively trading. If anything, I do investment stuff afterwards. It's too tiring with a child. Don't really feel like it anymore. What was that amount? Yeah, you wanna know like what kind of underwear I wear too? No, I'm just I am a modest person. Don't really need much. There's much richer people out there. I mean, what you have to kind of remember, right, with like just generally, like I've been really like performing really well for a long time in the market, but I started with $50, right? So like I started with $50 in 2014, and then ran that up a bunch towards 2017, and then did 2017 was still very low amount of money and ran that up into something significant, but still not enough to retire forever, right? So because I started with so little, so my percentage returns are very high, but I started with very little. So are you Sailor Don? No. People over like I'm not even a tiny, like I don't even compare even the tiniest bit to him. I'm poor as fuck in comparison to Sailor. It's just how it is. So yeah, I will not. This is just unnecessary. Feel like I'm getting investigated by the tax authorities. I do pay my taxes, but yeah. Pro was considered buying a castle. He's just poor guys. You guys are overestimating how much a castle costs. So trick question. Don doesn't wear underwear. I mean, Donald Duck doesn't. So, but yeah, that's that. Someone asked about Soul Eve. It's not really a pair that really like. This is only for losers, basically, as in for me, for example. Because you're not gonna necessarily like you're very rarely gonna trade this. But Soul Eve doesn't look that good to me. Yeah. But then again, like, so I have shit talked Soul Eve here. I have shit talked it afterwards here. I have shit talked it again here. And I mean, we're still trading above where I first shit talked it, right? Obviously, we had that dip. We went low, but still, like, we're still above where I first shit talked Soul Eve. Where I was like, hey, maybe it's time for Eve instead of Soul. We're barely above it, but we're still above it. So maybe I'm just wrong, but I don't necessarily like this chart. But it's at support, technically speaking. It's just whenever you get a breakout, I talk about this all the time. When you get a breakout that immediately retests, not the best. But yeah, I don't really think there's much edge to be had on the Soul Eve chart. It's just for the trend, basically. But I generally think Eve is the lower risk play, and you can have the same reward. Litecoin chart. I mean, there's not that much to say. The Litecoin USD chart looks great. I mean, that's just a great chart. Putting in like a massive consolidation. If you get a good altcoin movement, I think 120 like literally could go to 300. Like if we get like an old season of sorts, I think 300 would be the target. And then if you're completely delusional, you target higher. But I think 300 is basically where you'd wanna look for an exit, at least partially. And then Litecoin Bitcoin had a massive pullback this week, bouncing now. Not the best chart generally on the Bitcoin front. It's just the USD pair looks quite good. Has your brother gotten his FTX money back? He actually has not yet. At least he hasn't told me about it. So, yeah. All you talk about XRP, not a single word about XLM. I mean, it's like talking about the brand and the off-brand. Like, you just don't talk about the off-brand. I don't know. Like, it's like it's very hard to come up with American examples. I have like a lot of German examples, but it's like basically going and buying like ketchup. I think in America it's like ketchup from Heinz, I think is considered good. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Or like no name brand, like non-branded ketchup. I mean, you can still buy the other one and you're probably gonna be just fine. But I mean, who the fuck is talking about that, right? Like, you're not gonna be like, oh, this no name off-brand ketchup is the best thing I've ever had. You're just gonna be like, I bought this because I don't want to pay as much. So you would go with Heinz over. And then if someone says like, hey, I only buy this like off-brand thing, and then raves about it, everyone be looking at him like, you fucking weirdo. I think that's pretty much the same with XRP and XLM. I mean, at the end of the day, they're doing similar things, but I mean, who the fuck talks about the off-brand? Bad analogy. Ketchup is disgusting in general. I mean, then it's a good analogy, no, to XRP and XLM. That's a perfect analogy if you think ketchup is disgusting. XLM holders wear fedoras. Yeah, pretty much. So there you go. The last question is, what do you think about ETH betas like Uniswap? I generally think if ETH goes up, those do well. They're basically the high risk version, because you have to have ETH go up, and if it doesn't, you just eat shit. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Hope I helped in some form or another. At the end of the day, I'm just a random dude sitting here in my chair talking with a bunch of other random dudes, and maybe a few women. Very limited amount probably, but a few. So don't take my advice too seriously. It's just my thinking and how I look at the market. Doesn't have to mean that it's going to happen, right? So it's not financial advice. It's not any advice. It's just me talking with a bunch of bros and bro debts. Is that how you say it? So yeah, make your own thoughts. Think about stuff. I think it's people don't talk about this enough, where it's like, people, like, it's so easy to just copy what other people think, but you really need, like, in a market especially, you need to actually use your own brain. The best example is the XRP trade, right? I hate going back to it, right? But everyone was shit talking XRP, and I was like, hey, there's massive opportunity there. It's very, very obvious. And then I just went ham. I went ham on chilling it. I went ham on buying it. And this was very, very, like, just my own ideas about the market. It's not like any thought leader was talking about this, just me looking at it and being like, hey, this is obvious. And yeah, people tend to kind of get stuck in echo chambers, right? So as a trader, you really shouldn't be doing that. Need to make your own decisions and come up with your own shit, basically. Otherwise, I mean, should invest probably. So yeah. Hope that helps. Much love. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Like I said at the beginning, their links are in the description. Much love to you guys. Thanks for coming by. Have a nice rest of your evening, day, morning, whatever. See you guys next time. Bye bye.